Good morning, everyone. Last week I put a post on our website that I'll link to down below, entitled Whatever You Do, Volunteer. And I woke up this morning a little inspired to talk about how we volunteer and why we volunteer and what we get out of it. Because, let's face it, in the world that we live in today, everyone wants to know what's in it for me. Which I guess kind of makes my head hurt a little bit. Primarily because that's kind of against the nature of volunteering if you think about it. What's in it for me? Why should I volunteer? What do I get out of it? We'll come back to that part because I think, first of all, before we can talk about what we get out of it, we have to discuss how we volunteer. And I think the most obvious way that we volunteer, obviously, would be how we spent the entire summer out at Black Lake. I can't think of a more obvious way that we volunteered than by living at Black Lake Campground for an entire summer. Cleaning bathrooms, mowing lawns. We were basically the caretaker of that campground. Our job was to be there for the guests and make sure that they had a good experience. So that's definitely one obvious way that we volunteer. Other ways that we volunteer, I'm an amateur radio operator, and while I haven't been overly active in that in recent years, primarily because of changing careers and it making me slightly crazy in terms of the amount of time that it takes. In the past, I've done skywarn storm spotting, and I am still certified to do so. And in that role, I would drive out to the middle of nowhere during a thunderstorm, and I would look for weather features that the National Weather Service is interested in, primarily stuff that they can't see from the radar because the radar site's too far away. And maybe that's a video I do in the future is Skywarn, but that's not what we're at today. In addition, I also did a lot of volunteering at marathons and stuff like that, providing communications. You may recall on our Facebook page, last Christmas break, so just before Christmas, I hooked our camper up and I drove to a probably about 45, 50 miles away from home to a place called Ojibwa and spent 3 nights in sub-zero weather, providing communications for people who were participating in an ultra marathon. And that was a really cool experience. But again, that was, 3 days where I was helping other people. Stephanie volunteers by, for one, she's also an amateur radio operator, and again, like me, not as active as she used to be. Life gets in the way, and, we'll get back into more volunteering once we have an empty nest, but that's quite a ways away yet. At least in those individual levels. But she's worked numerous races with amateur radio, providing communications, helping out, and she's also the leader of one of our daughter's Girl Scout troops. So, in my mind, we do quite a bit of volunteer work. And it comes in spits and spurts. Sometimes we're doing all kinds of it and we're crazy, and other times we don't volunteer for months. But at the end of the day, the part that I think is the most important about this little conversation we're having this morning is that you do volunteer. There were a lot of benefits when I think about Black Lake for the family as that came out of the volunteer experience. For one, the kids were outside the whole summer. They had to use their imaginations. The girls played pine cone hockey, which I don't know how they came up with this, but they went and collected pine cones and sticks, and they set up goals, and they look playing lacrosse, hockey, whatever you want to call it, using those sticks and pine cones. It was so fun to watch their imaginations go. We hiked, we read books, we journaled, we colored, we drew. I learned more about solar and sizing your array to meet your needs in that last summer than I could have imagined. But more importantly, the more important part of that experience in my mind wasn't getting the kids outside. The kids were volunteering too. They helped clean the bathrooms, they helped clean the fire pits, they helped talk to guests when they would stop by. They helped volunteer. And that's something that we've been trying to teach our kids is the importance of volunteering. And we firmly believe that things that we take for granted wouldn't be able to happen without volunteers behind the scenes. So you think about all the big events, the Boston Marathon. I guarantee you that there are volunteers there. The Macy's Day Parade, the Thanksgiving Day Parade, the Christmas parades, all those big events that you love to see. There's people behind the scenes volunteering to help make that happen. There's volunteer opportunities all around you. You just got to look for them and ask, how can I help? The National Park Service, Forest Service, DNR, they're all screaming for volunteers. But so is your local Red Cross. So is numerous other organizations in your town. For example, I would not be surprised if here in Park Falls we have a hockey rink that's run by by an organization. I don't know much about its structure, but I would not be surprised if someone contacted them and said, "Hey, how can I help? I want to volunteer." Because this organization runs the hockey program for the youth in the area. I guarantee they have jobs. It may not be anything glamorous. It may be cleaning bathrooms. It may be changing garbages. But remember, you're not doing this for you. Yes, you are going to get something out of it. And what you're going to get out of it is the gratitude of the people around you. When Stephanie and I would work races, the gratitude of the race participants was amazing, and it would hit me here every time. All summer, the National Park Service personnel that we worked with, their gratification was amazing. Yes, we got a free campsite out of it. But that, as far as they were concerned, that was the least they could do for us, because it's kind of hard for us to host without having a place to stay. And yes, I found out that because of all that effort, we're going to get one of those America the Beautiful cards, the volunteer ones that gives us free access to national park resources and stuff like that. But that's not why we volunteered. At the end of the day, we volunteered because it's in here. The ultimate gratification, the ultimate what's in it for me comes from here, inside your heart. It's not external. And if you're volunteering for the rewards, then you're volunteering for the wrong reasons. You volunteer because it's the right thing to do. You volunteer because you want to make a difference. It's an internal thing, not an external thing. And if everyone found something to do to help, and maybe not even in an official capacity, you see a piece of garbage on the side of the road, pick it up. Don't worry about who left the mess. Pick it up. You know what? Get a group of your neighbors together and go down to a park and pick up trash by the playground. That's volunteering. It's not organized, but it's still volunteering. Find something to do. Find some way to help. Anything. And imagine how much better the world would be if everybody did even just a little bit. Think about that. Instead of worrying about where the mess came from, help clean it up. Instead of worrying about what's in it for me, recognize that what's in it for you is a better place and a feeling in here that can't be described. We've been volunteering for years. Pretty much our entire adult lives. And I can't describe, you can see I'm having a hard time describing the benefit that's in here that you can't describe. I can't describe it, but it's something that I urge you to do. At the end of the day, recognize that there is a need and that you have the skills and the time and the talent to help. And maybe you learn something along the way about yourself and about the world around you. And maybe it'll change your perspective on things and make you a better person. That in and of itself can be the greatest reward of all. But at the end of the day, volunteer. I urge you to consider volunteering. If for no other reason than to experience what I'm trying to tell you, you feel in here. I hope I get to see you out at one of our destinations. Maybe I'll see you when we're volunteering. And if you do, stop up, talk to me, tell me why you volunteer. Because I want to know. I want to hear, why do you volunteer? So you guys have a great day. It's kind of cloudy here this morning, but I woke up inspired to talk to you about volunteering, and I didn't want to do it as a live stream. You can tell it's cold in here because the space heater is still turning on. The office is always a little cold. The heat in here isn't the best. But you guys have a great day, and we'll see you at our next destination. You take care now. Bye-bye.